Oh, hello, everyone. How are we doing? Welcome into the PHNX Rising Podcast. We are brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook. I am Max Simpson, not joined by the dark confines of my bedroom as traditional when we do these remote shows. I thought I'd switch it up on you, and instead, I am joined by Mr. Owain Evans, who himself seems to be the one in the shadows of the darkness. How are
Yeah, I mean, I am hiding away in the shadows a little bit here.
Okay?
Yeah, I've warned you in the past. The Wi-Fi is a little bit iffy, but we're making do as best we can here. Apparently, it may or may not reach that well up to the 14th floor, but here we are. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit dark here, as it comes with the fact that we're an hour later than you in Phoenix. But yeah, it's Mexico City. You can see behind me, looking down to the south from the hotel.
I love it, man. I absolutely love to see it. Well, hey, I mean, dude, we got a lot going on, right? You're in Mexico. We got different preseason stuff, different trainings, lots to go on there. I mean, I'll kind of kick it to you. What's been like overall? How's it going out there? What's like, what have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of days. I know you're going to ask me about what I'm doing down here, and the very simple answer is that I'm bouncing from thing to thing with Phoenix Rising. So the tourism not really happening right now. I'm sure people would like to talk about things that you can do here, places you can go and eat, all of that, but alas, there is just not very much to report on. I mean, it's been mostly hotel to the training ground, to the hotel again, grab a bite to eat, and then hop on and talk to some people about what's going on here.
I love it, man. Well, hey, we're excited. We're happy to have you with us. Limited Wi-Fi and all. Everyone in the chat too. See Jacob in there. Maven's Keep in there. Appreciate y'all for joining us. No, man, and it's good to hear. We're definitely going to dig into a lot of that. I mean, yeah, man. I'll kick it over to you, right? Because I know something you brought up to me is we want to talk a bit about a little bit of SKC, a little friendly, what you've heard, anything we can get your word on.
Yeah, so there's not been too much we've been able to say about that really up until this point, because let's be honest, it's pretty hard to comment on a game that you haven't been able to see.
Yeah,
none of us were able to go down to that game. It was being played behind closed doors. SKC, they'd gone back home for Super Bowl weekend because everything was so expensive, and they came back down to Phoenix to play that game. But Rising, of course, took 2 leads in the first half. We have been able to see Manuel Arteaga's goal. That one was posted live, and then the other goal, Federico Varela linking up with Emil Cuello. I'm told it was quite the goal. Unfortunately, there is not video evidence available to the public of that goal, but I'm told it was quite a good goal. Besides that, I mean, one of the things you always hope to see in games like this is you just hope that the teams get out of things injury-free. Unfortunately, I don't think either side managed to quite do that. Don't have full details there. Things nothing too drastic as far as I can tell. But yeah, it's look, overall, Rising, did they fall short in that game? Yes, they did. They lost 4-2, but definitely some positive signs, definitely some good moments there, especially in the first half when they managed to ultimately take 2 separate leads.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, it's always one of those tough ones, right? Especially when you're not really able to see the game in person. You're kind of going off of highlights, maybe some speculation on, like we said last time, really those starters, that's going to be like, right, we're looking for 60 plus minutes, really helping to solidify what that starting lineup will be. I mean, again, this is kind of the fun game of, I guess, speculation, kind of going out from there. I mean, the first thing I want to note, right, is Manuel Arteaga is getting on the score sheet yet again. And, no deal, but it's definitely one of the guys I said who I think you'd have, a lot of people maybe weren't quite as high on him. And I like to think, hey, even if it's the preseason, bagging in the goals, I think that helps with the confidence. Could translate over, could not. But what do you make of that? I mean, especially after what GCU is one thing, Sporting Kansas City, even if it's preseason, that's another animal.
Absolutely is. And I mean, we have to bear in mind, right? There was a lot of question marks over Manu for the most part because he didn't have the best of years last year. Yeah, he scored 5 goals, but he scored them over 2 games over the course of an entire season. So, yeah, there were question marks about what he was going to bring. I will say he seems as though he's pretty high at the moment. He feels pretty good. I think that, look, he's scoring goals in preseason. Again, you've got to be careful how much stock, of course, you put in those preseason goals. You never know quite how much you should really be paying attention to them because at the end of the day, it's hard to tell. I mean, we saw Marcus Epps scored a few last preseason,
That's true.
and yes, he had an all right start to the year with Rising before he was let go. But you know, it didn't really translate into regular season success. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you want to see the guys who you're hoping to be consistent goal scorers bagging those goals in the preseason because, again, as you said, it's confidence. It's all confidence.
No, definitely. And I think the really cool thing, right, is in the clip that the team put out there, you didn't really see, I guess, the beginning part of, right before the goal, but it looks like it's just one of those classic, like it's a poacher goal. It's one of those where he hustles the guy off the ball, throws a little shoulder, little body in him, knocks him off, and he just puts it in the back of the net. It's nothing really too fancy. It's a goal scorer's goal, and it's just cut and dry. I think it's one of those where regardless of competition, you like to see that sort of hustle and that goal scorer's instinct, so to speak. So I think that's cool. I think it's something where, again, can't read too much into it based off of preseason, but the fact that you'd rather see guys scoring in that rate than not. I mean, I guess the only other thing, right, that we can really maybe pull from this game is, I guess, kind of getting into what we talked about last week of we wanted to see who the starters were and what that looks like from significant playing time. We saw the starting lineup go out. Any notable surprises to you or anyone who's like, wasn't really expecting that?
Good question. I'm not really sure for the most part, just because, again, right? Yeah, of course you want at this point to be putting out your real starting 11, but A, you don't always want to give all of that away, and B, there have been slight issues with certain players with their fitness, making sure they're getting completely up to speed, ready for preseason, right? I mean, it's still early days. It's still very early days, and so just got to be careful there. I feel as though, look, I'm not going to necessarily be too surprised by the way that people are coming out for preseason. I know one thing again. I know it was mentioned in the article that went up yesterday about how Carlos Harvey started in the defense in that game. That's something that Juan really kind of pointed to as a really good example of just the flexibility that they have within the squad and how important that is, because the reason he was playing back there is because Kev wasn't able to in that game. They had to be a little bit cautious with Kev going into that game. And so they decided to put Carlos Harvey back there. Well, look, again, preseason, a lot of players who could play in a lot of different positions. I think there's still a really good element of experimentation going into this at this point in time. So, yes, read a little bit into it. No, don't read too much into it.
It's a fine balance right there. Let's see. Maybe it's keep who's going to the March 1st game. I love that. Little shout out there. No, that's awesome, man. I think, like we said, it's definitely a balancing act with this here. I think, especially during preseason, it is that margin of you want to find your starters, but it also is making sure that, again, where are those contingency plans? Because how often do we see every season that everyone's healthy, that everyone has played in the exact same position? It's not. It's just not the reality of how it works. It's a pipe dream. You draw it up on paper and you got to be able to roll with the punches. I like that the coaching staff, it seems like they're finding that balance that some guys maybe, it's maybe something like slight, like, hey, going from like a center back to maybe an outside back, just a little bit here and there, kind of finding those things to hone in on. But it's good that they're kind of finding the balance with everything. So like to hear that. Anything else from this game that we can really pull from? Again, it's just kind of that awkward part of we didn't see it. So, kind of doing the best we can here.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot more that we can really get out of it. I think we're going to get a lot more from these next 2 games because at least I'll be able to watch and ask questions afterwards. We'll get a lot more insight in that rather than just relying on a lot more secondhand accounts.
No, definitely, for sure. I mean, you're going to get a lot more out of, the next game. I'm going to get a lot more out of the DraftKings Sportsbook app if I do say so myself. So, I mean, hey, listen, if you guys want to, get in on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, they got all kinds of different things to do, right? I mean, a little Champions League. If you put it this way, if you had Liverpool and you took them, heading winning 2-0 after the 15th minute, they're going to win. Yeah, man, that's a tough break when you concede 5 unanswered goals. My freaking word. So, yeah.
I mean, I'd go further. I'd go further and say, look, imagine there's got to be people who bet Real Madrid to win today when Liverpool were 2-0 up and probably walked away with a nice amount of money out of that.
You darn right. I should have done it too. You can never ever count out those Madristas ever. But yeah, all kinds of good stuff going on with the Champions League. Got a pretty... Oh, gosh, this is a really interesting matchup. RB Leipzig at home against Man City tomorrow. RB Leipzig, I mean, they're the heavy favorites, plus 350 to win, plus 275 to draw. And Man City, a cool minus 120, even though they're away from home. Got to see there. I personally, listen, that one, Man City's form, I don't know. They've been kind of They've dropped some points that they shouldn't have. RB Leipzig kind of riding in good form. Especially at home, that's not bad. Even if you want to take the draw, I don't think that's too far out to say. So I would I like that draw plus 275. I've seen producer Sean, other producer Damon. They've ride the win or draw. So that's a nice one too. So there's that matchup. Then you got Inter Miami. Wow, excuse me. Inter Milan and Porto. That'd be one.
Inter Miami in the UEFA Champions League. I don't think so somehow.
Oh, man. Pro Rel in the US. Here to hear first, folks. No, Inter Milan and Porto.
That has nothing to do with UEFA Champions League, man.
I know. I'm just saying in general, it's going to help. Yes, I understand. No, well, we're not talking about the Super League, but that's a whole nother thing. But also, I guess Pro Rel doesn't matter with that. Anyway, let's move on. Inter Milan, minus 140 at home, plus 270 for a draw. Porto, a plus 450. I mean, heavy favorites, Milan. Take your money, bet them. And hey, if you want to make some money on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you download it now. Use promo code PHNX. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And while you are using the DraftKings Sportsbook, I'm going to actually a little ASMR for you. Here we go. Oh, shit.
Well done, Max.
This is a one-handed job trying to open up my beer. Oh, there we go. You get that full experience, folks, only on here. But hey, we got Four Peaks in the house. I'm drinking the Golden Lager. Do they have Four Peaks in Mexico anywhere you've seen?
No, so I'm stuck drinking the local stuff at the moment.
Gotcha. Well, we're not going to give them any free publicity, but because we love our friends.
No names. But...
No names. They don't get zero names. But yeah, we love our friends at Four Peaks. And hey, you're watching a lot of players that are pretty fast. And if speed and adrenaline is more your speed, Four Peaks has a cool thing called the Beer Can Derby going on. It's on February 25th at their 8th Street Pub in Tempe. You can pick up your kit and open now anytime. So if you want to show up, build your own beer can derby cart and do the fastest beer. You want to make the fastest beer can in the Valley? Sign up through fourpeaks.com/events. I mean, it's one of those things. If anyone at Boy Scout out there that had the Pinewood Derby, this is like the same thing, but with beer cans for adults. So pretty cool stuff. You must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Yeah, all kinds of good stuff with our friends over there. But hey, yeah, man, a lot of great stuff going on with them and with us. Really, the cool thing too is you're getting awesome access to the players, to the coaching staff while you are down there. And I have a rumor that you got a little clip from head coach Juan Guerra. Let's listen into that.
I think the energy levels are super high. It's been good to come to a different environment in which we can manage it much better. It's good to be home, obviously, in Phoenix, but when you travel and you can manage what the guys are eating, how much they're resting, and we get to spend a lot of time together on and off the field, it's always great. So far, so good, and really looking forward for the game tomorrow.
That is refreshing. I'm talking about Four Peaks, but also hearing from head coach Juan Guerra is also equally as refreshing. I mean, listen, it's cool that you're down in there with the team in the trenches. What, we talked about it a bit earlier. What are you like hearing? What are you seeing? What's the vibe down there? I saw you take a lot of pictures, a lot of happy faces down there.
Yeah, I think that's been a pretty big trend in general. The atmosphere down here is very, very positive. We saw it at times last year where there was the talk about, we've got to really, only positivity. I know Rick, towards the end of his tenure, coming out with, expressions like no energy vampires and stuff like that. But what you're actually seeing here, I think, is a lot of people who are genuinely very positive. A lot of players that just seem up for it. Which is hard. You don't know what they're going to be like. You go out there, you sign best part of 15, 20 new guys, it feels like. And you really have no idea how they're going to bond. You have no idea how they're going to gel together, how they're going to fit together, especially because, when you actually look at it, you've got a group of guys who are predominantly Spanish speaking, then you've got a group of other guys who won't speak Spanish. And you're trying to gel these two groups and make sure everyone's one cohesive unit. And I will say overall, it does feel as though they're fitting in quite well. It feels as though the atmosphere is really good. It feels as though, look, of course, there's a lot of work still to be done on the pitch, but everyone seems to be having a good time with each other. And that is the main thing. If you go out there and you see a lot of smiling faces on the training pitch, that's a really, really good sign at this time in the preseason, when you've got so many new people trying to get used to each other, trying to gel together. That's fantastic for this club. And again, everything that I've heard, it's just all positivity. It's all smiles, all laughing and joking. And that's exactly what you want to see.
No, I love that. And I mean, it's only a positive thing to hear everything that you're saying. And it's cool because we've had a chance to, you've chatted with Juan many times in the past. We've had him on our pod. And it's cool to see that what the environment that he's building, the environment that the coaching staff is building, it all seems genuine. And they're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but it seems rooted in belief and positivity and just having that good type of camaraderie. I am curious, it's maybe a bit hard to separate the two, but what would you attribute that? Would you attribute like the vibe, I guess, within the team to that positivity that he's fostered? Or is it a little bit of, it's just a lot of new guys, they're in Mexico City, we're having a good time, and, they're just trying to make the most of that experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that it's a mixture of it all. I think that, look, the kind of atmosphere that Juan has always cultivated has been one where he's tried to push the positivity among the boys. Look, he doesn't shy away from sometimes the realities of what happens on the pitch and being willing to talk about it and where things go wrong. But there's also a big difference between that and certain, say, responses we've had in the past and the way that sometimes there's been finger pointing and all of that. We haven't had that. Now, in fairness, it's also because I'm not sure that Juan's ever been given the opportunity at this club to go finger pointing or anything. So again, just, there's only so much that you can read into that. I think, though, more broadly, yeah, the boys are just get on pretty well with each other so far. You go on a trip this early doors. It's great for team building. You have the opportunity. I mean, I was in the elevator with a couple of the players earlier. They were joking about trying to make Kev sing a duet with Corey Robertson, the goalkeeper coach. So I'm sure that would be quite amusing if they have to do that. Plus, a lot of singing happens. It happens at these things. It's I believe it's been a tradition in the past that they make new players stand up and sing songs. We all saw the footage from the academy players that went over to New Mexico and they were being made to go and stand up in front of the group and sing and have a good time. And things like that are just, those are the kind of things that do, you get everyone in a room together, you have them all laugh at each other. I mean, yeah, there's just so much of that it feels like it's a good time. And I mean, look, a lot of what's happening right now, it's low pressure, it's low stakes. You don't really have to worry too much about how are they necessarily looking entirely in training. Of course, you want the positivity, but look, you more than anything, you're looking to just build that camaraderie. And I mean, the other third point to it probably is that I think that there was an element of looking at these boys' character when they were trying to recruit them. Now, I get the feeling the recruitment's been a little bit more of a science this year than it has in the past. But I do feel as though there are still elements whereby Juan was not looking to bring in guys who were going to be problematic in that locker room. So, yeah, it's overall, look, the energy here is just very good, very positive. Everyone's happy. Long may it continue.
Love that. I absolutely love that. Well, and it's great to hear, again, the continued theme of positivity, which, like you alluded to earlier, there is a bit of a downer with some of the injury issues, I guess, with some guys unable to join. I know that we kind of are being vague in the sense that we just don't know all the information. We don't want to over speculate or anything like that. But anything we're able to touch upon of what we know.
Yeah, so not everyone made the trip. Now, in a lot of cases, that isn't injury related. Okay, so as was out in the article yesterday, you had Jose Andres Hernandez. He didn't make the trip down, according to a club spokesperson. That was due to immigration concerns. Besides that, Darnell King, of course, the captain last year, he hasn't made the trip down here. That's for separate personal reasons. Yeah, he's posting it all over social media anyway. His wife is pregnant, so there's a little bit to that there, okay? And beyond that, though, look, again, there's a couple of other faces who maybe haven't been able to make the trip down here. Injuries, I'm not going to get into specifics on some of it, but of course, look, especially even here, it's at altitude. That's something we've got to remember, that Mexico City is a higher altitude place. There's always going to be maybe a little bit more caution you want, especially in preseason, in terms of bringing people back. Of course, Juan mentioned Kev. Kev missed the last game. He seems to be back in full normal training now, so that's not a concern at all. But a couple of other guys who I think they're just taking it easy a little bit on, not trying to run the risk of re-aggravating anything if there are some issues there. So, yeah, the squad, of course, not 100% fit, but hey, you're not going to expect that really at this time of year, especially when people are coming back. They're going to have little issues, little slight things. Just got to manage it. Be careful as you go through.
Absolutely. Well, and as we keep on saying, it's a balance, right? Of you want to make sure that people are getting up to speed for the season opener, but also you don't want to burn them out in a preseason game, especially when you're playing scrimmages, especially when you're traveling. Like, that's the last thing you want. So, it's kudos to, again, the coaching staff and making sure that they're finding that balance and calibrating everything ever so slightly.
And we also need to touch on the fact that it provides opportunities as well. It provides opportunities not just for players who are already on the roster. It's actually a few youngsters who've made the trip down here. Worth noting that there's the odd face from Rising's Academy. There's the odd face from Barcelona Residency Academy. That's something that's always been a long-running issue that Rising fans have taken, that Rising hasn't really tried their hardest to take advantage of the fact the Residency Academy is just down the road, right? Mm-hmm. It's really not far away. And so when you look at USL clubs coming in and poaching, you think, hang on a minute, why isn't Phoenix Rising doing that? Because as a club, it's so much easier to try and integrate some of those guys into training, to get them in, to give them a run around on a trial basis. They haven't really done that as much as maybe they could have in the past. Yes, there have been people involved, maybe not as much as they could have. But you're now seeing those guys who, look, Juan said today that, hey, they're here for a reason. Those guys earn those opportunities. And if they play well, if they look good in training, they're going to get the opportunities that they deserve going forward. So I think it offers them an opportunity as well in these upcoming friendlies. There are two, of course, one tomorrow, one on Saturday. But yeah, I think that's another thing. It really opens up those opportunities, especially for guys who, again, are coming from a market that Rising is not really tapped into perhaps as much as they should have.
It's important. It's important, man. Very, very good balance with everything going on. I love to hear it. I mean, again, someone who might be taking the negative spin is, oh, well, we're getting closer to the season, but it's like, again, this is how things get sorted out. You need to be able to work through depth, especially where traditionally Rising, I feel more than a lot of other teams, they've rolled out quite a bit of depth, throughout the season. And that's not just because of injuries and everything like that. That's just the course of what they like to do. So it's good to experiment, especially get the younger guys involved. That is all music to my ears. Anything regarding some of the Mexico City stuff we haven't talked about. I mean, we talked about a little bit of the good, a little bit of the bad, but overall positive vibes. And that is refreshing to hear.
Yeah, one other thing I would note, of course, for those of you who aren't necessarily aware, of course, there will be written articles coming throughout the week on our website, gophnx.com. Max, I believe you got to have a sneak peek of one of those that we're expecting to be coming very, very soon. I was able to sit down with Danny Trejo, and we spoke through quite a lot of things about, from him playing as a kid and just how pretty much for the entirety of his experience with the game, he's just been a goal scoring machine. And to be honest, going into the season, long may it continue.
Long may it continue. And no, I will further plug that one in the sneak peek that I saw. Very, very well written article by Mr. Owain Evans himself, of course. Couple humorous points that I do not want to spoil. I will save for you, dear readers, but it's a great one to enjoy. And you know what else is a great one to enjoy? It's our friend at OG's Brands. We love them oh so much. You cannot get them in Mexico, unfortunately, Mr. Owen. But when you're back stateside, you can definitely try all their different flavors, the indicas, the sativas, the creams, the sleep edition, the minis, all that stuff. And it is official that their new strawberries and cream Happy Balance gummies are live on the shelves. And as always, you can find them at your local dispensary by checking out ogsbrands.com. That is OGEEZ brands.com. You must be 21 years or older to enjoy. And, I would bet I'm going to be honest, I actually don't really have a great transition for it. I like the first three, not this one. Let's just talk about our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Super easy to get started. Like you've heard me talk about before, it's all about picking the highers and lowers, shots, saves, tackles, passes, you name it. Super easy to do. Easy to get started. Go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app. All the information is in our show notes. And you sign up with promo code PHNX. Underdog will match your first deposit up to 100%. Go in and get them. But yeah, man, it's been really cool seeing the content that you've been putting out there, everything like that. I mean, you've been the guy on the ground. I mean, we want to make sure that you and the podcast and the Twitter and everything is getting the love that's deserved. That we are the only media outlet, and I say we very loosely, like it's you doing the work, the heavy lifting, that are providing the updates and these insights with the team and everything like that. So like shout out what you're doing, and like everyone keep following in. Like this man's doing the work. So please keep on doing that.
Yeah, and look, as I said earlier, there's more articles to come beyond the Danny Trejo one. I've already got one that's I've done the interview, sat down, got to finish writing it up now of Emil Cuello as well. Spoke a lot about his journey to get here, and beyond that, I'm hoping to get a few more done with different members of the coaching staff, some of the other new players. There's going to be quite a bit coming out, so just keep your eyes on social media. And that's ignoring the fact that we're going to have game coverage, of course, tomorrow. Talk about that, some talk from Juan after that game about what he's taken away from it. So there's a lot to come. So just keep your eyes peeled on all of that.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let's talk about tomorrow. What do you think we can learn from it? What do you want to see? Like after we leave tomorrow, what is going to give me one or two takeaways that if I'm a Rising fan, which I am, which you are, which our dear listeners are, what should we expect and have a good feeling about after tomorrow's game?
One thing that I would like to see, I'm not sure if we will be Danny Trejo get a bit of playing time. We've not really seen a huge amount of that. He, of course, had a little bit of an injury trouble coming in early doors. I'd like to see him get a bit of playing time, and ideally like to see him get a goal. Again, look, it's confidence. It's confidence with a lot of these guys. The other thing is that you just want this team to put up a good performance against a side that is in the middle of its season already. And that applies to both tomorrow's game and on Saturday. Both of these sides, they're already hitting their stride. They're already in the middle of a season. Rising, of course, in preseason mode. If they can put up a good fight against them, and whether that be winning or even just looking reasonable, taking positives out of the games, I think that's something that really you want to see. Again, it's going to be tough. I will reiterate that these are two sides that are in the middle of their season. So just bear that in mind when you look at the results. They're a little bit more hitting their stride than Phoenix Rising are at this point in time, and you should be considering that. But again, there's still some positive to take. I mean, Max, what are you hoping to see out of these games?
Yeah, kind of going off your point of we're playing a team within the middle of its season, the one that I'm kind of curious, right, is can Rising play as close to a complete game while they're facing this team? Meaning, you're going to kind of, I think Rising might run into one of two issues. They might start slow in the sense of the team, are they up to tactical snuff? Have they been caught up to speed in terms of growing into the game? Can they do that relatively quickly? How are their touches? How's their passing? How's their moving off the ball? Stuff that if they're able to get to a quick start, that's room for positivity. That's room for hope. The other thing that they might run into is, do they have the legs? In the sense that, again, it's still kind of early in the preseason. They haven't been playing full 90s. It's guys who still working their way into fitness for a variety of reasons. Are they able to play a complete game in the sense that they're not tailing off in the 70th, 75th minute, and they're able to finish the game strong? Those are the two things I'm looking for. And the really interesting thing is, like, you're going to see that in the first 20, 30 minutes and the last 20, 30 minutes. So really kind of seeing which of those, if any, emerge. And that'll kind of tell me kind of where the team's at heading into the regular season. I do echo your sentiment of I would love to see more playing time from Danny Trejo. In terms of the lineups, I've actually been really liking what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a bit more solidity from the defense, seeing some, guys who keep on showing up on the starting 11s. So just keep on mixing in this that team cohesion while also mixing in some new guys. So again, I'm a broken record this episode, but it really is about balancing and doing the best you can, because you can only take so much at face value with this preseason.
And there has been some tactical work, right? Teams are, of course, quite cautious over that and cautious about what can get out from that in their training sessions. There has been tactical work they've been putting on. Juan said as much yesterday. They were going to be doing that work today, and they were for the latter half of the training session, trying to work out what they're going to do in this friendly tomorrow. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what gets put out there. I'm intrigued if they'll come out in the same formation or not. I'm not really sure if that's what we're going to see or not. But hey, we're at that point in the preseason whereby sometimes you start to roll the dice and try something a little bit different, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're just trying to really solidify what you've already been working on and just kind of build on that. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see. These two friendlies are going to be a good test for them. Good opposition. This is a very big club compared to pretty much anyone they're going to play in USL. Yes, they're not playing their first team, but regardless, it's still a test. It's still a test.
It is. No, and I think kind of seeing, again, do the best we can how the team has approached it. It's a nice mix of guys playing, guys mixing new guys in, resting where we need to. But that's the interesting part of this is I don't think I've seen anything where, wow, this is over, from what we've seen and from what we've heard, it's not, wow, this is overwhelmingly amazing, but it's also not, oh, wow, hit the panic button. It's pretty measured, which honestly, from a preseason, that's really all I can hope for. So fine with me. Lots to look out for ahead of tomorrow and moving into the rest of the preseason. But I mean, something else to look out for is Game Time, because, you can use the Game Time app, the platform, to save up to 60% on tickets for the upcoming Rising season. And if you're not a season ticket holder, I mean, hey, you really get rewarded when you buy tickets last minute from our friends at Game Time. Lots of good stuff coming up with them. New stadium, new experiences. Get in on the action. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Game Time, again, check out our show notes. It is all kinds of nice opportunities there. Not just games, but concerts, whatnot as well. And I mean, hey, while you're going to a game, I recommend looking nice with a little Bad Birdie merchandise. They have all kinds of new stuff. They have had a whole waste management open line, completely curated for Arizona natives, locals, what have you. Quarter zips, polos, hats, all that kind of fun stuff. I've been rocking it. You know me. If you want to look like me, well, I mean, good luck. But do your best you can. Use promo code PHNXBB15. That is PHNXBB 15 for 15% off your next order at badbirdiegolf.com. Again, link is in our show notes if you care to partake. Mr. Owen, I think you had a funny thing you wanted to call attention to, a little caption contest.
I did, but first I will just draw attention to one other thing. I mentioned to you that they were chatting in the elevator earlier about singing. Well, it would appear that that's indeed what they're currently doing downstairs.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Apparently so. Down on the first floor, they are currently enjoying a little sing-song with people getting up there in the front. But yes, I think there was one other thing we were going to...
Yes, I have to ask if you were only because I've been out to karaoke with a certain someone on this podcast against my will. If you were to be, I don't forget. If you were going to pick a song for karaoke, what would it be? Chat, I would also like to know your choice as well. Please sound off.
Oh, good question. That is a good question. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you on that one next week when we are back in person.
Man knows how to sit on the fence. Yes, I will.
I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to take my week to have a think about that one, and I'll get back to you next week with an answer. But you know what? You mentioned that we were going to have one little more bit of fun. Yeah, there was a picture doing the rounds on our PHNX Rising Twitter account. That's PHNX__Rising on Twitter. Here we go. It's Danny Stone, one of Rising's assistant coaches, with the hands there right around his head. Max, if you were to try and guess here what Danny is saying, what do you think he's saying in this picture?
I hate this. And well, no, that's not what he's saying. I'm saying I hate this for what I'm about to say. Gosh, dude, you guys are the worst. You guys have lived rent free in my head for the last week. I believe he's saying, wow, did you see what Owen photoshopped Max into a cheese last week? It looked like this, and that's him gesturing with his hands. I hope you're happy. That's what I got. That's what I got.
Well, if you have any opinions on this one, feel free to dump it in the chat. Go over to our Twitter, actually. Go over to our Twitter account, PHNX__Rising. The challenge is, of course, to come up with something that's funnier than the actual explanation, which I wish I was at liberty to share, but apparently I am not. But that was arguably even more bizarre than most things that you will... probably put in on Twitter, but hey, give it a go, and I will let you know if you can come out with something that is funnier than the actual explanation. So hop on over to Twitter there, PHNX__Rising.
Can we incentivize? We have anything to incentivize the winner, perhaps, of this caption contest?
Ooh, very good question, Max. I'm going to leave that up to you. You've got to find out some kind of
Goodness
prize.
gracious, this man just turns it back on me. No, okay. Anyone who comes up with the best caption as voted by our judge, Mr. Owain Evans, the winner of that caption contest, man, oh gosh, we will, you get to select which beer I'm drinking next week. How about that? Four Peaks, of course, but you get to select which beer I drink. I'm open to any of them. But you let me. I'll take first crack of whatever.
Don't give him too exciting a prize now, Max. Come on.
I know.
Calm it down.
I'm a generous man.
Exciting. Watch them all flocking to Twitter now. Yes. But yeah, it's. I will also say that I'm going to have veto power if it is not as funny as the actual explanation. I'm not going to hand out a prize. I'm not going to hand out a prize for that one. But yeah, it's just make sure to head on anyway over to our Twitter, PHNX__Rising, even if you don't want to take part in that, because we will have updates throughout the game tomorrow and on Saturday. And of course, it'll have all the updates from the other things that we're going to see here in Mexico City, the different player interviews, coach interviews, all of that. You'll be able to find all of that on our Twitter account.
Gotta love it, man. Hey, support the show, support us on Twitter. All that stuff. Sport Owen. He's doing good work out there. Got to give him some entertainment while he's traveling, doing the good work. Anything we missed, buddy? We covered a lot of stuff, but also it'll be nice to have you back in studio next week.
Yeah, we did cover a lot of things. I'm trying to think now. Is there anything that I missed? No, not really. I think we've covered a lot of things there. And yeah, look, again, it's all smiles here. Will it be all smiles after tomorrow's game in the morning? I don't know. We'll see. But make sure to pay attention and follow
Absolutely.
along.
Well, yes, absolutely. Well, thank you everyone in the chat. Jacob, Bonnie, Maven's Keep, everyone. I appreciate y'all so much. Oh, yeah, Bonnie, reactivate that Twitter account. There's so much fun going on.
Don't worry. We'll be making sure all those updates are going via Twitter until Elon may or may not destroy the platform. We'll see.
All right, there goes our Twitter partnership. Darn. Well, anyway, that's all right. Well, hey, appreciate you guys in the chat for following us along on PHNX Rising Podcast and on Twitter, as Owen said, at PHNX double the fun Rising. I will say actually one programming note for next week. We usually are in Tuesdays at 6. Next week, it's going to be Wednesday at 6. So appreciate your patience on that. But there will be a fun special announcement regarding our pod. And you're just going to have to tune in next week to find out. That's what we call a cliffhanger in the business. But until then, you can follow me on Twitter. Right on the screen there at Max David Simpson. You can follow Mr. Owen at OJ Evans 18 on Twitter. And until then, until Wednesday, we shall see you guys later.